If you've never heard of the European Digital Passenger Locator form, join the club. I learned the hard way, and I'm hoping the experiences I had will help you as well as your international travelers. If you are traveling to France for any reason, you need to know about this form before you go. This session might also have been titled, What You Need to Know About the EU PLF, as it is so called sometimes. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Mary Schaefer, founder of AP Now, the place where we curate the latest business intelligence for those who work in, manage, or have responsibility for the payment and or accounts payable function. And of course, this particular talk is focused on expense reporting. So let's get started. And by the way, even though it's focused on expense reporting and what you need to know for it, it is also information that you'll need if you're traveling to France, Malaga, or Slovenia. Okay, so what is it? What are we talking about? The passenger locator forms, which are called PLFs, are used by public health authorities to facilitate contact tracing in case travelers are exposed to an infectious disease during their travel by plane, ship, which could be a cruiser or ferry, rail, bus, or automobile. This form was developed in light of COVID-19 pandemic, and the web application for it is called the European Digital Passenger Locator form, and that's small d, capital P, capital L, capital F, and it was used to facilitate during cross-border health threats. All right, so what is the form used for? Information that travelers provide on their PLFs can be used by public health authorities in destination countries to rapidly contact travelers, emphasis on the word rapidly there, with the goal of protecting the health of travelers and their contacts, as well as preventing the further spread of disease. So who has to complete one? Passengers traveling to France, Malta, and Slovenia. And the important issue here is that you have to complete it before you go. So what does this mean for travelers, including your business travelers? Well, you won't be able to check into your flight until you've completed this form. So if you want to check in online, you've got to do it ahead of time. I strongly recommend you do it at home ahead of the time and give yourself plenty of time to do it. Even though the amount of information that's required is not extensive, the form is quite finicky, at least I found it that way, and you won't be able to progress from one field to the next until you get the current field filled in correctly, which is truly infuriating. Okay, so how hard could it be, you ask? After all, they only want a few bits of information, and this is true, and none of the information is obscure, and you will have most of it. Most of it can be easily found. They'll want your passport number, your flight number, where you're staying in France, etc. Once you finish the form, a feat that, in at least my experience, was just slightly easier than winning the lottery, you're given a QR code for your phone. With this, if you're asked, and I'm not sure who would ask you, but you're going to need it if you're asked, to show that you're in compliance, you can do so. You just show them the form, they read the QR code, and they get the information. Now, before I share my personal nightmare with this form, if you like this episode, please give us a thumbs up. And if you loved it, please subscribe. We produce new content for the channel 3 times a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays are devoted to payment and accounts payable issues. And, we include expense reporting in that. And Saturdays are reserved for Wordle. Okay, so all I can say about this experience, if you will, is that it took me almost an hour after we got to the airport, struggling on my smartphone. Now, my husband had received the request, one per family, and struggled with it before we left, and then decided we'd deal with it at the airport. No comment on that, but let me just say that is not a good idea. Luckily, we had plenty of time, and the woman at American Airlines, I wish I had gotten her name, who checked us in, was an absolute saint. Okay, but if there was a long line and people were short on patience, I don't think your experience would be as good as mine was at the airport. So really, do it at home before you travel, because they won't let you check in, at least as of July 2022, until you filled it out. Okay. One last caveat about the form. Remember I said it was persnickety? Well, When you enter your phone number, you'll have to enter a country code, and you need to use the country code for the US on this form as 1. I was using 01. I don't know why I thought that was the US code. 1 was what it, and this is another thing I learned the hard way. So make sure your international travelers are aware of this, and the link, you can access this form at app.euplf.eu. Now, after dealing with the minutia of this form, you might be ready for a good laugh. I know I was. We did a podcast on expense reporting funny stories. We did it a few months ago, and you can watch it right now using the link that will appear momentarily on YouTube and is in the show notes below. As always, we appreciate your thumbs up, your subscribes, your shares, and your comments.